Gospel of Luke, the story of Jesus' life, and the book of Acts, which is the only book of the whole New Testament that we have that talks about what the followers of Jesus did after he was ascended to heaven. And so this is a story that Luke intended to show that the Spirit that lived in Jesus is exactly the same Spirit that lived in the life of the church. And that the combination of these two books, the life of Jesus, the life of the apostles, are to be seen as one. And for people to have faith and to have hope, because it is God's Spirit that works in the world, and we know the power of God's Spirit. We also never know when that Spirit is going to operate. In our lives, in the life of the world, we never know when it's going to take fire. You'll notice some of the popular images of Pentecost Sunday: flames, the roaring of a mighty wind, the dove descending. You know how birds in flight, you never know where they're going to alight. This is the story about God's Spirit throughout history. And so the first thing that we need to know is that it's always the same Spirit. You know, when we see people who follow Jesus, when we see faithful people, they all look the same. Because they all have the same gifts, because they all have the same Spirit. And we know that Spirit when we see it, because it's a spirit of love. It's a spirit of joy. It's a spirit of having faith. It's a spirit of having hope. And so we live by that Spirit. And we see in the people of the Acts of the Apostles, all these people who changed. Simon became Peter, Saul became Paul, and they became something else because they opened their hearts and their minds, and they were changed. So the second thing that I want to say today is that change is possible. And I always like these little things. You know what's really amazing when you get when you like Google change is possible and this came up? Do you think we're born with personalities? And the therapist is saying, yes, but I believe we also have the innate capacity to become more annoying. And we always have to ask ourselves, what are we born with? Who are we? So this little guy came up. When asked, would you rather work for change or just complain, 81% of the respondents replied, do I have to pick? This is hard. Sometimes we don't like to change. We don't like to think we have to change. We don't know how we have to change. But because we have this Spirit about us, because we have the model of Jesus, we have the life of the people who came after, who lived in certain ways together, there we have this spark that comes alive in us, and to say, that's the kind of life that I want to live. And we have this innate ability to live that life because it's already within us. This is a classic quote from Leo Tolstoy. Everyone thinks of changing the world, but no one thinks of changing himself. It's always a neat quote, a neat way for us to look at how it is that we improve our lives. So often we look at something out in the world and we think it needs to change. But really, the best way to change the quality of our life is to change ourselves, to become more that image that we know ought to be in the world, we know can be in the world. During our foray into Sunday evening worship here at Trinity, we had one where we talked about the old keep calm signs that were in England. Some of you may know that during the bombings during World War II, they would have these signs in the subways and around town that would say keep calm and carry on. And in the 70s and 80s, it became kind of common to make posters on the same theme of keep calm. This is one of my favorite, Johnny Cash, keep calm, keep calm because it's within you. You know, I like that great phrase from the first hymn that we had about being calm because we know the rock. Last week we something like becoming a mother can actually change the way you look at the world. It actually does change the way you are. So also, we ought to know that when we change the way we look at things, we are changing our brains. And doctors will expect certain parts of our human body to work in specific ways. We also expect our souls to work in certain ways. And they work along the lines of the spirit that has existed since the beginning of humanity. There's a exercise that our vision group is going to lead some folks through over the summer and into the fall about determining your spiritual gifts. What is it about you that you have to offer to God? How is it that God is speaking to you to use your gifts in ways that have gone beyond your imagination? There's some of you may remember Philip Gully. Philip Gully was the Porch Talk guy. We did a series on him a couple of years ago. And he has the book, If Race is True, I think, that the adult ed group used. And he has a list of things that he has taken on for himself because he believes it's a reflection of the Spirit. You can see his list. This is his list for the year. Cut people slack. Anybody on that one? All right. Show up. Oh, man. Show up. That's big. Make 3 friends. What would happen if we just took that little piece of the gift and worked on it? Bring people together. Some of these are doable. Remember birthdays, except when it's mine. Don't gossip. None of us here need to. Say hello. See how simple these things are? That lead us into a fuller vision of who we might be in the world. And so also we grow in the Spirit. And we have a bucket of stones here, courtesy of someone on the vision team. And it is pretty heavy. I'll just lift up a couple of them. And there's a ceremony called the White Stone Ceremony. And it comes from ancient Roman times. When a slave was set free, they were given a white stone, called the White Stone Ceremony. And they were to take it with them when they were freed, and they were to write a name on it. A name that they would grow into and could become, because now they're free, and they're no longer named by their master. And the White Stone Ceremony is this passage from Revelation 2:17. Hear what the Spirit says to the churches. To the one who perseveres, I will give the hidden manna. I will also give a white stone with a new name written on it, known only to the one who receives it. So today we want to encourage you to take a stone with you. You don't have to write a name on it, but you can write a gift on it. You can write something on it that helps you to feel liberated, to feel free. You can put something like hope on it, or peace, or make new friends, or whatever it might be that leads you into that spirit that lived in the life of Jesus. That spirit that the author of the Gospel of Luke wanted you to know lived on in the apostles. It was the same spirit. And we know that that same spirit that lived in Jesus, the same spirit that lived in the life of the church, that has caused people to change the course of history, that same spirit has the power to change people's lives. It has the power to change our lives. So today, I'll take if I can carry it, I'll take the rocks out after the service. You can pick one up. Think about it. Think about what kind